Colorland today. While much progress has been made addressing the centuries of wrongdoing, there's still a very long and arduous journey ahead, and political division paired with propaganda further constrain the efforts of working towards a better future. In this section, we'll unpack what's being done on top of what has been accomplished already, and pick apart the active battles being fought. The road to desegregation. Desegregation itself was the result of decades of resistance, and the act itself was fought every step of the way. By means such as redlining, refusal of service, and even acts as incomprehensible as eugenics, integration was always opposed by many. While we have defeated certain things such as clear cut public segregation and redlining, the system we live in perpetuates the issue. While it isn't outright impossible to move somewhere now because of one's race, prohibitive costs are instead used to segregate. On top of this, previously designated redlined areas accumulated a generally lower amount of wealth than those which were not, resulting in today's generation being raised in an unequal and inequitous world. This all begs the question, is today's change really all for the better? Gentrification. A current means of integration which has sprung up is that of gentrification, defined as the process of the transformation of the character of a poor urban area with the arrival of a wealthier residents, who, more often than not, displace long-time residents. After decades of financial neglect in previously apportioned redline districts, typically white wealthy investors are beginning to capitalize on a market whose residents cannot typically compete with them. As property values due to redlining in these areas is so low, and the residents of the areas themselves typically fall into the lower class, when investors come around, they are able to acquire large plots of land for lower than average prices. These plots are then overhauled and renovated, often opening up commons or similar new storefronts, and new, more expensive housing is built. While these acts improve local infrastructure and typically local institutions such as schools, they also raise the cost of living for the area, forcing those who cannot afford to live in these renovated areas into even worse living conditions. This unfortunately really only serves to further the racial and economic divide in many places. Those who can afford the area might find themselves moving into the middle class, while those who cannot end up being further cast aside by their government and society. Below is a video attached which explains the situation. Deportation and sterilization. Perhaps the most egregious offense to this day towards the color line is the active deportation and sterilization of Chicanx immigrants. Not only has the Republican Party advanced its efforts in deporting those they deem unfit, they've also been caught on multiple occasions administrating unwanted hysterectomies in exchange for granting citizenship, or the right to stay. This practice, as outlandish as it seems, and as close to a mid 1930s Nazi party as one can be, was actually practiced in the United States around the same era before. The act of declaring a woman of undesirable race or economic status hysterical was commonplace, most notably in California. To be reintegrated into society or released from a mental hospital, the woman could either consent to a hysterectomy or face deportation, or worse still, indefinitely be held within the hospital. This act was the first step the Nazi Party took in ending the bloodline of those it deemed burdensome to the state, and terrifyingly, it's what we're beginning to see right here and now. This is most likely the sharpest point of the spearhead currently being thrust against the non-white population of America today, and the danger lies in the administration as well as those it can currently retain with its cult-like propaganda. Below is a short lecture video explaining the practice of eugenics in the early 20th century in America. Where do we go from here? While there are many threats actively working against those trying to make a genuine go at it, there are certainly many organizations and individuals working towards a change. Certainly the resistance to change will be a constant, economically and politically. By seeding division, people have things to gain. However, if the greater population of those wronged can unite, not unlike the unions and parties formed in the past, real change can be expected. Organizations like UNICEF and the UN have clear-cut ways in which people and individuals can work towards a brighter tomorrow. Of note, the key changes within the youth, which for centuries have been where the most political action originates from. By pushing for equity and equality in the realm of education, within the next generation, we build towards a world of inclusivity and awareness. When it comes to undoing the wrong of redlining, what one can do is to closely examine where they themselves might choose to live, as well as the community around oneself right now, and give back wherever possible. The unfortunate reality is that in American society, money talks, and often gets what it wants. However, we can do what we can to support our community around us and become an active and engaged member. and continue to call out acts of racism and unfairness whenever possible. Change will be slow but steady.